Go to show up to JJ's house, there's police tape over his driveway. You know, the funny thing about the roofing industry is that literally every type of different person works in the roofing industry. You got the high-end guys. I've literally had distribution reps that used to work for like JP Morgan that are now selling packages of roofing products. All the way down to the guys that are from the very backwoods of Barrow County that, you know, are a little bit more, I don't know, I guess a good way to describe them is old school. You know, they write down their orders on bar napkins. You know, that's just kind of the kind of guys that they are. And we had a distribution rep when we had first gotten started, and he was a really nice guy, but he was rough around the edges. And for me to say he was rough around the edges, he's got to be a rough character indeed. Remember the first time that I met him, he wanted to meet at a local bar. And I thought that was a little bit strange because most of the times I had met with people in business, they wanted to meet at like a coffee shop or something like that. Or now and then if they were trying to be bougie, they'd meet you at a cigar lounge or something like that. Well, he wanted to meet at this little podunk, out of the way, nowhere town bar. So I'm there, and truth be told, I'm not terribly comfortable because it's just not my scene, not my type. Pretty wild group. And I hear this big Harley come riding up. This guy jumps off the Harley, no helmet on, comes walking in the door, high-fiving everybody. He knows everybody in there. And for the sake of the story, we're just going to call him JJ. And JJ knew everybody in this bar. And he comes walking up to me and he goes, "Hey man, my name is JJ. It's good to meet you. I'm so happy to meet you. I'm going to be the guy you're going to buy your roofing products from. I'm going to give you the best prices and the best times." And he went into his little sales pitch. And I have to say, he sold me. I mean, he was just a charismatic guy. You couldn't help but like him, even though he was rough as a cob. He literally sat there, drank like 6 or 7 Crown and Sprites over the period of 30 to 45 minutes. I told him, I exchanged information. I told him to email his pricing. He jumps back on his Harley, again with no helmet, and then rides into the darkness of Gwinnett County. Just the kind of guy that he is. And we did business for years. And he had some mess ups. He had a job where, you know, there's some things didn't go right, and he ended up having to bring us more materials, and he would mess something up. And he was always finding a way to make a 1-hour project take 3 hours. He just was always making things a little bit more complicated than it needed to be. But he was a good guy, and at the end of the day, he always delivered somehow, some way, even though I needed blood pressure medication sometimes before he delivered. But things got a little bit weird right around, I don't want to give you a time period, might be too specific. So things just got a little bit weird after a few years of working with him. He just kind of got a little bit more distant, and he wasn't always easy to get a hold of and whatnot. And I'd send him something, and then 2 days would go by, and he'd be like, "Man, I've just been slammed. I'm so sorry. I'm getting back with you so late." And I was just kind of thinking, man, I'm your biggest account. Like, I'm not sure what's going on, but all right. Come to find out, I didn't hear from him for about a week, and then his boss called me. And his boss called me and said, "Hey, JJ is no longer working with us anymore. I'm going to be taking over your account, and we're going to leave it at that." I said, "Okay, that's no problem." I thought that the office manager we had at the time might have gotten him into some trouble because she had reached out to the general manager and told him that she was unhappy with some pricing issues that were not what we were promised. There were some rebate issues that were not what we were promised. And she was a very tough woman. And she really was, she told the GM what for me. She really kind of laid into him a little bit, as he deserved. You know, I mean, our JJ was not doing his job properly. And so after trying to work with JJ, things weren't getting anywhere, so she really escalated things. So I called JJ and he didn't answer the phone, and I'd call JJ again, didn't answer the phone. Go to show up to JJ's house, there's police tape over his driveway, over the door. And I'm looking, I can kind of see the front door from the driveway, and I can see that the door is basically, there's OSB on top of the door. And I thought, oh, this is looking like a crime scene. So I called one of the guys in the company where JJ worked that I had a pretty good relationship with, and for the sake of the story, we'll just call him Bob. I told him, I said, Bob, I said, man, what's going on with JJ? Is everything okay? And he said, I tell you what, he's like, why don't we get lunch today? He's like, and so I said, no problem. So we went down to a little spot and had some lunch. And he said, well, let me tell you, Bob said, let me tell you, JJ has just been arrested. Him and his girlfriend have been selling, let me start over. They've been making, selling, distributing, and smuggling meth. I don't know who it's for. I don't know if they're tied in with some gangs or cartels or what, but they have, I mean, it's a huge bust. FBI and DEA broke into his house, tried to catch him. He wasn't there. He's got warrants out for his arrest. For all we know, he's halfway to Mexico by now. I kind of stayed up to speed on the situation. Eventually, JJ did get caught, and he's serving a long sentence, I'd imagine. But it kind of made me sad in some ways, because JJ was such a good guy, and in some ways, and he was a good salesman. But I guess he decided that the distribution game of building products wasn't paying enough, so he got tied in with some bad apples, as it were. So either way, you never know who you're working with. Sometimes you're working with somebody and you think that they're one way, and turns out they might be making a little bit of meth on the side for God knows who, for God knows how much money. Guys, hope y'all enjoyed this story today. We'll catch you in the next one.